The Mark of the Lash, a book by the great Putu, narrated by Arcane Arboretum. Chapter 12, Guessing. Do you remember what Pavel said? About what? About how much longer we've got left? Serena nodded. Yeah, said about a couple of days we'll hit Daggerford, and after that, it's about a week to Waterdeep. Tired of doing nothing most days? Warren snorted. Try a month. I hate this. Feels like limbo. Limbo? Don't worry about it. Serena shrugged and leaned back in the bench. It had been only a day since the caravan had left the quaint dead-end town of whatever its name was. Warren couldn't remember. One day, and already the caravan was back in its usual line down the tradeway. Wagons as far as the eye could see, teamsters drifting off with nothing to do. To the left, grassy plains stretched for miles, and if Warren squinted, she swore she could make out the ocean. To the right, the thick trees of the misty woods stood tall, hiding gods know what among them. Another day in which Warren prayed Serena would light something on fire, just to cause a commotion. A tall order, she presumed. You excited to get to Waterdeep? Serena asked, her hands faced forward, but she gazed out towards the woods. Warren grimaced. Not really. I know how bored we've been, but I'll take it over the hustle of the work back home. Serena glanced at her, a small smile upon her lips. Sounds like you hate your job. I do. Warren spoke with conviction. Serena faced towards her, frowning. That bad? Yes. My boss makes my life a living hell. Part of the reason why I like going on these trips. Get a chance to get away from it all. Sometimes these trips are the only semblance of peace I can get. Warren shifted about, unease spreading through her. Look, I don't want to talk about it, okay? Let's not ruin a perfectly good day. Okay. Serena signed. A trace of embarrassment flashed across her face, causing a pit to settle in Warren's stomach. She hated telling Serena to drop topics, as chatty as she was, but any further and Warren knew she would lose it. On herself or Serena, she didn't know. Hoofbeats sounded from behind their wagon. The newest member of the caravan guard, an elven woman in a gray cloak, rode past them, traveling up towards the front. Serena grabbed Warren's shoulder and shook it, eyes wide. Get attention, please, she signed with one hand. Warren rolled her eyes and shouted, Ma'am, Mrs. Gray on the horse? She waved as the woman turned her head. My associate would like a word with you. Why did you say it like that? Serena signed closer to her chest, her voice coming out in a whisper inside Warren's head. Warren smirked and watched as the guard turned her horse around. You made it sound like I'm mad. Well, boss, I think that's your fault for being too shy to hail her. I'm mute, you... Oh, hi there! Serena flipped from anger to excitement as the guard came over. She flipped the horse around a second time and fell in with their wagon. Something I can help you with? The guard asked. Her voice was low and rough, and something about it demanded Warren's attention. Well, I hope you don't mind, but I wanted to say hi, Serena said cheerfully. I know everyone on this caravan, but you just got hired, right? I'm Serena Lash. She gave a tiny bow, as well as she could on the bench. And this is my teamster, Warren. Oh, I don't actually know your last name, Warren. I never asked. Torahar, Warren said. Warren Torahar. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet both of you, the guard said evenly. Joanna Eagleton, although most people call me Joe. Nice to meet you too, Joe. Serena cocked her head. I hope you don't mind me saying, but most people are, well, a little freaked out when they hear me talk. I heard back at the inn. Well, heard you, I guess. Wasn't really shocking. I'm used to telepathy. Oh, can you use magic? No. In my marching days, we used it to get communications across. I was one of the forward scouts, so I always had someone else in my head. Serena nodded, though her face twisted into a frown. Warren chuckled. She was in the military, Serena. Oh! Serena exclaimed. Didn't know what you meant. Sorry. Can I ask where you served? Sure. Joe replied, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Wasn't in an actual army, though. Worked as a mercenary. Tempest Swords. Though they called themselves something else back then. Changed the name. What? Serena exclaimed, causing Warren and Joe to jump. Tempest's Swords? I know them. I'm friends with them. Well, some of them. You are? Warren asked. Joe echoed her question. Yeah, back in Mirabar. They were helping with a terrorist problem. Serena could barely sit still as she signed. Do you know Max or Charlotte? Gurdon? Oh! She bit her bottom lip as her cheeks became a faint rose color. Do you know Morgan? Have you heard from her? What's she doing these days? Sorry to say, but I served about 100 years back. None of those names ring a bell, Joe said. Warren's brow furrowed in confusion as Serena took it in stride. Joe didn't look anywhere close to over 100 years old, but what did she know? She still remembered believing Serena to be a full-blooded elf a month back. Oh, makes sense. What did you do in the company then, can I ask? Serena asked. Forward scout, like I said. But the captain always had me in negotiations. Got a knack for figuring people out. Like, lying? Lying, yeah. But more just understanding who a person was, what they do, what they might do. Helped us out quite a bit. Wait, you can guess things about people? Not hard if you know where to look, yeah. Oh! Serena straightened up. Can you guess something about me? Baron smirked and was about to inform Serena that they shouldn't take up more of Joe's time, when Joe nodded. Sure, nothing better to do. Joe leaned back in the saddle and squinted at Serena. Her blue eyes flicked back and forth, up and down, the corners of her mouth twitching. She pointed a finger at Serena's head. You're a pyromancer, Joe said confidently. You asked if I used magic, like it was something you normally ask people, and your eyebrows have been singed, regrown, and singed again. Plus, the skin on your palms is slightly darker. Looks like you've burnt yourself a couple of times before getting the hang of flinging bolts of fire out. Serena's eyes grew wide. She grabbed Warren's shoulder and shook it, glancing between her and Joe. Yes, boss, Warren said, brushing her hand away. Very exciting. How did you do that? Serena exclaimed. Just something you pick up after a while. Joe smirked and looked at Warren. I can do you if... No! Warren blurted out. Joe blinked as Serena leaned back, eyes still wide. No, sorry, I'm okay. Besides, you probably need to get back to guarding the whole thing. Caravan, I mean. Huh? Probably. Joe's eyes narrowed a moment, before she straightened up in the saddle. It was good meeting you both. Serena and Warren. I'll see you soon. Joe urged her horse forward, gave a wave, and trotted up towards the front. Serena waved after her, before turning to Warren. What was that about? She signed. Warren shook her head. Never did like fortune tellers. I mean, people who can figure out things about you. Always rubbed me the wrong way. She looked over at her boss, cutting off Serena's next signs. So, you know the company Joe worked with, huh? Oh yeah, Tempest's Swords. They were stationed in Mirabar when I lived up there. One of the lieutenants? Is that the word? One of the guys in charge became a friend of my family. Nice people. They must be, if you like them so much. Warren smirked. Got a bit of red when you asked about that Morgan person. Serena rolled her eyes, even as her cheeks became flushed. She launched into an explanation, stating that Morgan was another family friend. As Warren listened, she sucked in a deep breath, hoping her heart would quiet down. She didn't need Joe guessing things about her.